You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Polymarket traders win big on U.S. military insider information. Slovakia deactivates speed cameras with Russian backdoors. TikTok pays $400 million to settle kids' privacy allegations. Hackers infect Android-based car systems with botnet malware. CISA orders quick patching of an actively exploited Zimba collaboration suite vulnerability. SyncLoader malware is built for stealthy access to corporate networks. Dutch authorities fine Uber over $900 million over automated hiring practices. An ATM jackpotter gets a record prison sentence. We got your Monday business briefing. Our guest is Mark Baer, General Manager at Malwarebytes Consumer Business, looking at protecting your family in the age of AI. And a privacy promise loses face. It's Monday, August 24th, 2026. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It's great, as always, to have you with us. More than 150 Polymarket international wallets may have traded using inside U.S. military information, potentially broadcasting sensitive signals to outside observers, Reuters reports. The Anti-Corruption Data Collective, or ACDC, identified 152 highly successful wallets trading military and defense markets. Together, they made $8 million with an average win rate of 97.2%. ACDC cautions that these patterns can have other explanations, including luck. Researchers also found signs that large traders and automated bots copied some suspicious wagers. Public blockchain transactions can make unusual betting activity visible in real time. If suspicious trades reflect non-public military information, copycat activity could amplify those signals and increase potential national security risks. ACDC argues stronger identity requirements and restrictions on certain prediction markets may be needed. Slovakia has deactivated 279 newly installed speed cameras after its National Security Service identified multiple security vulnerabilities, including SMS-activated Russian backdoors. The NBU found hard-coded Russian phone numbers that could reportedly trigger shell and network access by sending an SMS. Researchers also found ineffective secure boot protections. The camera's web portals exposed live streams to anyone with a device IP without requiring a password. The cameras are thought to be rebranded Russian models. Compromised traffic infrastructure could create security risks beyond traffic enforcement. Remote administrative access and exposed camera feeds could provide unauthorized parties with visibility or control. Slovakia's Interior Ministry has deactivated the cameras pending an independent audit. TikTok will pay $400 million to settle a 2024 U.S. government lawsuit alleging violations of children's online privacy protections. The Justice Department and Federal Trade Commission accused TikTok of knowingly allowing children under 13 to create accounts and unlawfully collecting information from children using Kids Mode. TikTok will pay $300 million immediately, with another $100 million due after a court vacates an earlier consent decree involving Musical.ly. The settlement reinforces the legal obligations companies face when handling children's personal information. The Justice Department also acknowledged TikTok's subsequent changes to privacy practices, age controls, parental oversight, ownership, management, and compliance. According to the Justice Department, the agreement represents one of the largest recoveries obtained in a Children's Online Privacy Protection Act case. Hackers are infecting Android-based car systems with malware designed to expand a botnet and route other people's internet traffic through the vehicles. Kaspersky found the malware on Dofun head units, computers controlling functions including navigation, music, and Bluetooth. Attackers reportedly abused TW Core, a legitimate system application, to silently install malware called Jar Service. One observed module turns compromised devices into reverse proxies, making routed traffic appear to originate from the vehicle's connection. Automotive computers represent another class of internet-connected devices that attackers can potentially recruit for fraud and traffic routing. Kaspersky says Dofun subsequently fixed the security issues. According to Kaspersky, the campaign is attributed with high confidence to Moyu Group, linked to the Bad Box operation. CISA has ordered federal civilian agencies to patch an actively exploited Zimbra collaboration suite vulnerability immediately. Today is the deadline. The command injection flaw affects the Simple Network Management Protocol, or SNMP, notification component when notifications are enabled. Zimbra patched the issue in a recent version. CERT Polska first reported active exploitation. Shadow Server later identified more than 270 compromised Zimbra instances while searching for exploitation artifacts. Successful exploitation can let an unauthenticated attacker execute operating system commands as the Zimbra user. Experts recommend reviewing logs and files for evidence of compromise. Researchers at Expel have uncovered SyncLoader, a new malware family delivered through Microsoft Teams phishing and built for stealthy hands-on access to corporate networks. The attack begins with someone posing as an IT help desk employee and convincing a user to install a malicious MSI package. SyncLoader then executes components largely in memory and bridges Python, PowerShell, C#, and C++. Researchers observed modules for system profiling, persistence and remote command execution, network tunneling, and screen control. Other modules display a fake Windows lock screen to steal login credentials. The combination of stolen credentials and network tunneling could let attackers access internal and external systems through the victim's machine, potentially reducing signs of unusual login locations. Researchers assess with low to medium confidence that the toolkit may be associated with ransomware operators or an initial access broker. Dutch data protection authorities have fined Uber about $964 million over automated driver suspensions. The regulator says Uber violated the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, by allowing software to suspend driver accounts, sometimes permanently, without human review. It also says Uber failed to properly inform drivers about automated decision-making. The violations allegedly occurred from 2018 through 2022. Automated decisions affecting people's livelihoods remain subject to European privacy protections. Uber disputes the findings and says it will appeal. A Venezuelan national has received an 8-year federal prison sentence for participating in an ATM jackpotting scheme responsible for millions of dollars in losses. The Justice Department says 27-year-old Juan Manuel Govay Aguero pleaded guilty to bank fraud, bank burglary, and cyber-enabled fraud charges. The court held him responsible for more than $3.5 million in losses. ATM jackpotting typically involves accessing a machine, connecting a laptop, and installing malware that commands the ATM to dispense its cash. Malware-enabled jackpotting remains a significant threat to financial infrastructure. The FBI reported roughly 1,900 attacks since 2020, with losses exceeding $20 million just last year. Turning to our Monday business briefing, cybersecurity and AI companies announced several new funding rounds and acquisitions in the past week, with investments spanning data security, AI governance, penetration testing, and critical infrastructure protection. Prevalent AI led the funding announcements with a $22 million growth investment, followed by Expander at $7.5 million, Cytix at $7 million, and Neuromorphic Labs at $5.1 million. Top Hat Security also announced an undisclosed Series A. On the acquisition front, Dynatrace agreed to acquire AI observability company Arise for $915 million. DataVault AI agreed to acquire CyberCatch Holdings for $94.5 million. Fortinet acquired Virtue AI, while Cribble acquired technology assets from Radiant Security's AI SOC product. The activity shows investors and established vendors directing capital toward AI security, governance, observability, and broader enterprise risk capabilities. Be sure to check out our complete business briefing. That's on our website, part of CyberWire Pro. Coming up after the break, my conversation with Mark Baer, General Manager at Malwarebytes Consumer Business, and a privacy promise loses face. AI is transforming the way organizations work. But what happens when we rely on it so much that we begin losing the human judgment and context that make good decisions possible? I recently sat down with Johnny Hand from Trend AI, and he made an important point about what we risk when we offload too much AI.
We risk our most valuable resource, which is our human context, our creativity, our ability to understand contextually, like in the environment, those things. Those are really hard challenges for AI to tackle.
If you're trying to separate AI hype from operational reality, I think you'll really enjoy this conversation. Listen now at explore.thecyberwire.com/trendai. Mark Baer is General Manager at Malwarebytes Consumer Business. I caught up with him at the Black Hat Conference for a look at protecting your family in the age of AI. We are continuing our conversations here at Black Hat 2026, and joining me now is Mark Baer, who is General Manager for Malwarebytes Consumer Business. Mark, welcome.
Hi, Dave.
So I'm particularly interested in your insights for where we are with AI from the unique view that you all have at Malwarebytes into the consumer side of things.
Yeah.
What can you share from that side of it?
I think it's often not talked about on the consumer side, especially at conferences like this, because it's all very B2B orientated.
Right.
I think there's this kind of convergence happening now where people have a lot of information leaked about them online. They have data breaches, they have data brokers, they have all these different things where you can find their email address and look up their password. And then that, in combination with AI, to be able to create really personalized messages and personalized scams at volume and at scale, is kind of something I don't think anyone sees coming. And I think consumers are starting to feel it now. So like for us, what we see is scams kind of booming, right? Like you could create a very compelling scam. If I know your name and I know your wife's name or like a friend or where you grew up, I can create a very, very interesting message to send to you, and I can do that to you, and I can do it to 10,000 other people all in a minute. Burning some tokens, but it's really affecting consumers a lot, and consumers really just don't have anywhere to turn for help for these types of things. Like if you work at a company, you have an IT team.
Right.
You hand them your laptop if you do something wrong, or you say, I click this link, or I put my credentials in, how can you help me? And you go somewhere and get that help. And as a consumer, it's really hard to find that help. And that's what we're trying to do, is be that voice and offer solutions to help there.
Is it every step along the way of these scams that's being accelerated here? In other words, like the gathering of the information, the crafting of the phishing email, the execution. Has this made all of those faster?
It's become a professional thing. Like there's like companies that will sell SaaS software for doing scams or doing info stealing, right? It's like if you go back to the 2000s or the 2010s, you had spear phishing,
Right.
and you would invest a lot of time, or they would invest a lot of time in actually researching a potential victim and going after that victim because they were, maybe wealthy or they were a good target. You don't need people to be wealthy or a good target now because there's just so many people out there with information leaked, and all you need to do is take $10 from 50,000 people versus $50,000 from one person. And so I think that is really creating that real change in the dynamic where I think a lot of consumers often think like, why do I matter?
Right.
I'm a teacher, I'm a firefighter, I'm not that important. Why would anyone want to go after me? And it's not about who you are, it's about you being, a part of an audience.
What we might consider to be a small amount to us, it might be a much larger amount to someone on the other side of the world, or even as you say, in the aggregate, it adds up.
Yeah, exchange rates. Some places where these bad actors are operating that are places that the US government can't necessarily go after. $10 goes a lot further, and so I think that's the interesting thing as well is that these scams and phishing attacks are getting so good and effective that you're actually also seeing them buy advertising to create a funnel to get people into these like scam flows. And so actually ad blocking is another big thing that we're kind of like talk about a lot at Malwarebytes because it used to be about just like turning off ads because you don't like them.
Right.
And now it's actually become a good security posture because you could search for a brand or you could search for something on Google and someone might go and buy the top ad spot and put a fake website there and then play on that brand trust and get people to go in and think they're going to actually even to our own website. We've seen scammers go and create a malwarebytes.com or malwarebytes.ai or something and it looks really much like us and then they will try and sell our software on a fake website and then buy that top rank on Google to try to get those people lured in.
Help me understand the spectrum of defensive opportunities that companies like Malwarebytes are able to provide to consumers. What does it encompass?
Yeah, it's a lot more than it used to be. Like back in the 2000s, the only device you really had was your PC.
Right.
Everything was done there. And so that's where the origins of our company came from. It's we would protect your computer and protect it from malware and viruses. And then as the world has now gotten a lot more complicated, people have a lot more connected devices, we've had to extend a lot more to protect those devices as well. So for us now, mobile security is a really big thing. Text filtering, call filtering, ad blocking, phishing protection as well. Those things are now a big part of what we do, even though we're very renowned for the antivirus story that kind of got us to where we are today, as well as data broker removal. And a lot of it's also awareness. Right? They're trying to just make people aware that you are vulnerable because you have a lot of information about you online, and a lot of people don't know how to find out what information is available about them online.
How has AI affected your business itself? In other words, the availability of those tools on your side to be able to use them to help you do the things you do better to protect the folks out there.
It is actually a big help. Like we have found it historically, malware definition writing and research was a very manual profession, and so if you wanted to understand and reverse engineer a bunch of different files, it was take a lot of people, and so you could only really process as many things that you had the team to do so. And now with AI, you can actually write some really compelling tools to just do that at mass. It's really helpful for doing first round screening on phishing links, right? To give a quick sense of likelihood of being a scam or a phishing site or an info stealer site. So it's been really helpful for us to try to stay ahead, because the really interesting dynamic that I don't think is talked about either is there was obviously that CrowdStrike incident that caused a lot of machines to get bricked, and so our industry is very careful in how we deploy our software and build it. And so we can't just go vibe code an antivirus and ship it because it has kernel level access to the Windows machine.
Right.
And so if you have any bugs in there, that can be very, very bad. And so we have to be very careful how we build our software and make sure the security and the quality is very, very high. But bad actors don't care. Right? You can create a piece of malware and try to distribute it. And if it doesn't work, great, just build another one. And so the rate of progress that you can build these things is just so high now. And there's also a lot of models that have been put out there, the open source models that even old versions that they can just use on their device and just keep building new versions of malware. And a lot of the new LLMs now have got safeguards in place to stop them from doing bad things, but the old ones don't. And so we're just seeing the volume just become a really big factor. I think a lot of companies here at the conference are dealing with that too. Like, how do you stay ahead when the volume is so high of threats coming out, breaches are coming out? You've got like a lot of different companies that do the screening of your vulnerabilities that come in, like HackerOne. I know they're like drowning in reported vulnerabilities now. So there's just so much more noise to fight through, and AI can certainly help there.
How is it different on the consumer side? In other words, I can imagine you have to walk that line where you're protecting an individual, but you have to be careful also not to overwhelm them.
That's probably the biggest challenge, to be honest. Consumers don't even wake up and think about cybersecurity when they get out of bed.
Right.
Like, they don't say, I'm not going to buy identity theft protection today or VPN. And they often are doing it after something's gone wrong. And that's tough because a lot of these things, like if you've been fooled into a scam, your money's gone. Like, there's not a lot you can do about it. And so the remediation is not as great. And so it's really about awareness and making it easy to follow, right? Like I don't think it's ever a good thing to try to ask someone to do all of the things they need to do to get more secure in one day or in one sitting, and try to drip feed it and make it easier. So for us, we have this tool. It's across all of our products called Trusted Advisor, where we give someone a security score, and that makes it just really easy to understand what their posture is. And then there's just a list of tips of like, how do you increase your score? And we're just trying to make it very, very easy. Like our tagline is really around making cybersecurity reimagined for humans. Humans is the biggest part of it.
Right.
And people are flawed. They're busy. They've got things to do. They got anything else they'd rather be doing than installing an antivirus product.
Yeah.
And so we want to try and make that really easy for them.
So there really is an educational component to all this as well, not just technology.
Totally. I think education is big. I think there's also a lot of shame now.
Yes.
What's happening.
Yes.
People get scammed and they feel stupid, or they feel like that shouldn't have happened and they don't want to talk about it.
Right.
There's so many conversations I have where I'm like, scams are happening a lot, and they're like, actually, that happened to me.
Yep.
And they're like, they never tell anyone that story. There's fake shops where you think you're buying something that's not actually going to get delivered to you. So I think that we have to take the shame out of it. I like having more awareness that it's happening, that there are professional people doing these scams, and they're very, very good at it. And if we can help with the awareness and education, that should help people feel less shame and hopefully talk about it more, and then they can increase their concern when they look at something. They're more suspicious at things versus just trusting in everything they click on.
Where do you suppose we're headed with this stuff? Is this a future where that agentic personality is always looking over our shoulder to keep us out of trouble, or what will we do?
I think these AI tools can be a great companion for people. Like if you have, securing yourself takes work, right? Like, hey, I want to go and unsubscribe from every email I've ever signed up for, delete all my old accounts. So if a breach happens to that company, I'm not in that breach. That takes so much work and time to do those things. Change all your passwords, make them all secure, right? And so if we can move in a way where AI is able to securely operate on our behalf, it can do all that grunt work, right? You're asking about complexity or challenges. If you can make it easy, if cybersecurity companies can use your AI that you pay for, that you get for free, to do things that better secure you, that can be an amazing step in the right direction, because that is, as you said, like a big challenge. People just don't make time for this stuff, and let AI do it. So I'm optimistic about that. I think that can help a lot.
Mark Baer is General Manager with Malwarebytes Consumer Business. Mark, thanks so much for taking the time for us.
Thanks, Dave.
And finally, Clarity Check tells users its reverse image search is private and secure. Security researcher Jeremiah Fowler found the company had apparently left more than 9 million image files accessible online. Privacy, it seems, had encountered a configuration issue. Fowler discovered roughly 450 gigabytes of profile pictures, screenshots, and other images, including photographs of children, in an unsecured Amazon S3 bucket. The files sat in folders labeled Faces and Profiles. A URL in ClarityCheck's publicly available website code provided access without authentication. Fowler also found misconfigured APIs that could reveal potential email addresses, physical addresses, and phone numbers simply by manipulating website URLs. ClarityCheck secured both issues after Wired contacted the company. It disputes describing the data as publicly exposed, arguing that access required knowledge of a specific unindexed URL. The company also says there's no evidence of malicious access. Facial images are particularly sensitive. Passwords can be changed. Faces are somewhat less cooperative. Fowler warns exposed photographs could potentially be harvested for AI training, impersonation, or scams. Faces, it seems, still have limited reset options. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K's lead producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our contributing host is Maria Vermazis. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilby is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.